To create stroke animations, you must have elements with a visible stroke in your canvas. In this case, all of those elements are strokes, created using the pen tool. There is a main group having this stroke path around the word Lottie, and also a second group containing the letters of the word. With the Transform tool, select the path from around the letters and go to the dashes input to set a dash array. Typing in 2 will create dashes of 2 pixels separated by gaps of 2 pixels. The gap looks smaller because the line end style is set to rounded, and this will add a little to the dash length. However, you can type in semicolon and 4, which will set a gap of 4 pixels instead of 2. This way you increase the distance between the dashes. The next step is to animate it and have the dashes moving around on the path. Starting from the beginning of the timeline, click on Animate and select Stroke Offset. The first keyframe will be added automatically, marking the beginning of the animation. To set the second keyframe, drag the playhead all the way to the end of the timeline, in this case, at 5.5 seconds. Then go to the offset input and type in 100, which will represent the distance the dashes will move. A second keyframe is added and it will mark the end of this animation. Go back to 0 on the timeline and hit the space bar on your keyboard to preview the animation. That was easy, right? Now let's animate the width of the stroke as well. I want the path to change its stroke width and also starting later than the offset animation. So I'll keep the playhead at 1.5 seconds, and then from the animators list, I'll choose stroke width. Drag the playhead at the 4th second and go here at the stroke width input and type in 0. This will make the dashes slowly disappear and leave the entire stage for the word Lottie. Of course, you can adjust the timing if you want and fully control the transition timing by moving the keyframes. Next, let's move on to the word and start with the letter L. I want to create a self-drawing effect for it, and to do so, I need to work with both offset and dashes properties. With the element selected, drag the playhead at 1.5 seconds, then choose Stroke Offset from the animators list. At this keyframe, the path should not be visible, meaning it must have a gap equal to its length value, which will be followed by a dash also having the same length. Under the offset input, you can see the length value of the selected path, and next to it, a drop-down with copy options. In this case, copy the length to offset and dashes. You can see that the value is now being used for both the offset and dashes properties. The stroke path of the element is no longer visible, and that's because the offset is using the same value as the dash array, all being equal to the path's length. Now drag the playhead at the 3rd second and bring the dash back on the path by setting the offset back to 0. The stroke becomes visible again, revealed through a self-draw animation. That looks good, doesn't it? Now do the same for the rest of the 5 letters, which are all a single path. Bring the playhead at the second 2 mark, choose the Stroke Offset animator, and copy the length to offset and dashes. Because the path is longer, it will need more time. So place the ending keyframe at 4.5 seconds and set its offset to 0. Next, select the crossbar from the letter T, and starting from 3.5 seconds, simply repeat the process. Add the animator and set the dashes and offset to create a transition of 0.5 seconds. To save up some time, delete the second crossbar and copy the first one, which is already animated. Use the Ctrl or Command D on your keyboard to duplicate it, then double-click on it to rename it. All you have to do now is bring it over the second T letter and also move its keyframes another 0.5 second to the right so they won't animate at the same time. So basically, this is an example on how you can animate stroke paths in SVGator. But just to make this animation complete, I'll also animate the dot above the letter I. With the dot selected, go to the 4.5 second mark and add the scale animator. Then from the transform properties, set the scale to 0 for both X and Y. Drag the playhead another half second and change the scale back to 1, meaning 100%. Let's play it from the beginning to preview the animation. Feel free to do final timing adjustments if you want, and also play around with different easing functions to make your animations look outstanding and unique. Check the other videos as well, and learn how easy it is to create lightweight Lottie animations in SVGator.